going again, babe.
And we're back. We're back. Had some technical
second time.
difficulties for the second time.
Testing.
So we've got people watching to see if we can make sure that doesn't happen again. So yeah, you guys will have to let us know how it goes. Oh, she's like, yay, it's working. So we're back to normal.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Great. Yeah, I know, right? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. How infuriating is that?
See how long we can hang in there this time.
Yeah. Okay.
Where
So
the CIA shuts us down again.
yeah, they thought they would stop us. They didn't stop us. They just ran off all our viewers.
Yeah.
So
No big deal. Nobody needs those.
no big deal. Okay, so where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by the Fed?
You were talking about your theory.
Oh yes, my
Oh,
theory.
Yeah. Got the podcasters.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see if we can get through this. So I think Trump, I should say, it just says we shall not be moved.
Amen. Let's walk around Jericho a couple more times.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I fear that Trump might actually be trying to shut the podcasters down because he's trying to put the genie back in the bottle, as it were. He wants to bury the Epstein list story, so he wants to kind of make the people who pushed it look like fools a little bit. I hope that's not the case. I do think that somebody wants to make somebody look like a fool. I'm having a hard time believing that Pam Bondi would have been the one to do it because the blowback would have fell on her exclusively. You know, so it's hard for me to believe that she didn't look at the files, she didn't look at the paperwork. And why do the phase 1 thing like when she does, and then the night before say she's got the whole file and she's going to release all of it? Because the night before the whole podcaster debacle, she goes on there and says she's going to release all the files.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you have any media savvy at all, what you would do was, this is just phase 1, and we've got more coming. We're just going to release this out to you as we get it. As we finish filtering through it to make sure victims aren't caught up in the whole mess. You know, we're going to give it to you in phases. Like, she would have teed the whole phase thing off. You know, if there had been some kind of knowledge, I guess. Like, well, if she had been the one trying to push the podcast, like making the podcasters look foolish, she would have at least tried to, you know, frame it in such a way that they assumed that there was new information, but she never technically said that, and she said she was just releasing everything in waves, and I brought it up on Jesse Waters or whatever. Like, she would have covered herself because you would think she would have been scared of the, you know, blowback. Because what happened is the podcasters weren't shut up at all. Nobody blamed Jack Posobiec or Liz Wheeler or whoever. Nobody blamed those people. They blamed Pam Bondi. She wound up looking foolish. And it's kind of hard for me to imagine that she did all that thinking that it was going to work. The whole thing screams a mistake to me. So it's like she said she was going to release all of it. And then it's almost like somebody, Donald Trump, or maybe somebody from the CIA, somebody above Pam Bondi, I don't know who that would be, was like, no, actually, you're going to do this. Or, no, actually, this is just information that we already released. Like, somebody came in and told her at the 11th hour what was really going on. She went, oh, crap, and then printed out the phase 1 thing as a reaction. Because had there really been a phase plan, as it were, she would have teed that off. She made so many media appearances. She would have had every opportunity to tee that off. So I kind of think that this was something that was done at the last minute. She tried to cover herself, but I think they were trying to put her in a situation where it was like going to be framed as a mistake, but in the end, the podcasters would look bad. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I think the end goal was to make the podcasters look bad, but Pam Bondi might not have been in on that plan.
Yeah. I mean, it checks out historically. Like, everybody knows that like the CIA coined the term conspiracy theorist or whatever, like in the 70s or however that story goes. Everybody's heard that.
Yeah.
So it would check out that they're just sowing doubt, and then they have like a patsy, oh, it's a conspiracy,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Maybe
I mean,
that's the better way to put it. She's a
same story
patsy.
over and over,
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe she is the patsy. Maybe she's meant to be the fall person and always has been meant to be the fall person. Because, I mean, I don't know. It is those reporters were clearly put in that position where they were to photograph the podcasters. They were planted there ahead of time. And the only reason they would be planted there ahead of time, because the podcasters didn't know they were grabbing the Epstein files. They didn't know that they were going to be receiving that stuff. They thought they were just going to get to shake the president's hand, and then they were given those files by surprise. It was a 15-minute meeting, just long enough to hand them the folders, and not even long enough for them to look at the folders. So they didn't know what was going to happen, but somebody had to have, because they were rushed out the back of the White House, which is weird, and there are reporters waiting for them.
Yeah.
That screams a setup.
Why are the reporters at the back?
Yeah, that screams a setup. But it's hard to imagine Pam Bondi actually not realizing that the blowback was going to land on her, because obviously all those podcasters were going to point at her and go, well, she just gave us these things.
Yeah.
I have a hard time imagining she, even in her own mind, would have thought that would have worked. Again, that kind of goes back into the whole attributing motive, or assuming stupidity, I should say. Like, you're just assuming she's an idiot. And it's like, well, maybe she is or isn't an idiot. I don't know. But she still had a point of view. So what was her point of view? What was she trying to accomplish? What did she honestly think was going to happen? Did she really not believe that any of that blowback was going to land on her? That's hard for me to imagine.
Right.
Personally.
So, like, she didn't know that the folders were going to get handed to the podcasters.
Well,
now she's running around trying to save her face.
Yeah, like she didn't. Yeah, she didn't know what was going to happen exactly, and then somebody told her something at the 11th hour. She went, "Oh crap," and basically Xeroxed those Phase 1 sheets of paper and slapped them in the Trapper Keepers before sending, or the folders, the binders, before sending the podcasters on their way. It just seems like this was a vindictive attack against those podcasters to humiliate them. But the blowback landed on the White House when it wasn't intended to. And so either it was it had to be somebody above Pam Bondi, because I think her mistake is indicative of somebody reacting to a situation and coming up with a solution at the last minute. So I don't think she's the one that made the call. It was somebody above her, but how many people are above her? That's the question. The only person I can think of is Trump. If there's somebody else, I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
So,
I don't either.
All right, somebody talk besides me, because I don't want to just show my ignorance all night.
Well, man, I don't know anything about this story. I'm learning stuff from you.
Yeah, I'm learning as well.
Well, that is terrifying. Anyway,
The only thing I know about it is from what I listened to on the other guy that did a deep dive into the video that was released.
that's right.
Oh,
That's the
let's
other
watch that.
aspect of this. We have
I
a
haven't seen that
video.
clip yet.
Yeah, so this is, for those who may be jumping in, there was a prior half of this podcast that the CIA found and botched. So we're starting up with part 2.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, we don't want to be conspiracies.
So yes. So the next part of this is they had the video. Remember, Cash and Dan were screaming, "There's a video. We're going to show that there's no way somebody murdered him. He had to have killed himself." So they show the video, and then turns out that not only did they cut a minute out of it for some reason, it's not even, the camera's not even pointed to the right door. So, surprise, surprise, nobody bought it. I'm amazed they were stupid enough to even try this, but
It's on the door to exit, like the whole cell
like, dude,
block.
as good as AI is now, like why wouldn't they just make a fake video as opposed to this?
Because these people think you're dumb, and they think they don't have to.
I guess. Yeah.
That has to be
Just a
what it
bunch
is.
of rednecks.
And maybe that's why it was Pam Bondi. Maybe Pam Bondi is the type who believes that you're so stupid that she can just lead you by the nose. But the American people have learned how all this media stuff goes. And so maybe she really thought everybody would just blame the podcasters. Maybe she really was that dumb because of just arrogance.
Yeah.
That is entirely possible. Anyway.
The Department of Justice and the FBI released the 11-hour camera footage of the Special Housing
Zorro?
Unit, or SHU, where Jeffrey Epstein was being held.
What?
I said, is that Zorro?
Zorro.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
We don't know. Zorro wore a mask.
The
his name
night
is
that
Jesus.
he
Hilarious.
offed himself, and we already have a lot of questions, and I will
He's
answer
got a lot of
every
the good
single one
stuff,
of them
Trevor.
in
Good
this
night.
analysis.
Oh
Questions
yeah,
such
he
as
does.
there were people who went
He gets
in
in
the
deep.
SHU but never left, or what is exactly the angle that we are looking at in this video. Not to mention that strange hooded figure that
I'm an idiot 'cause I
concealed
forgot
their
to switch this
identity. I
over.
don't know if he or a she, and
That was
then
just
got
pure
out
stupidity.
of the SHU. Strange. Or perhaps one of the most disturbing questions of all. Why is there a full minute missing from the footage?
See, I want to point that out. When she was responding to that full minute missing, she said it was the computer switching over. But it switches over at 58:58. The computer wouldn't do that. It's going to switch over on the minute to the second automatically. It's not going to be off by 2 seconds. So there had to be a cut. It had
A
to
whole
be.
minute, not 2 seconds.
Well, if it was the computer doing it, it would have been at 11:59 exactly to 12. It would have been exactly 60 seconds because it's automated. It wouldn't have been 11:58. It's like,
That's
why would a clock
stopping the
reset?
microwave
Yeah.
before it's done.
Why would a clock reset at that time? That doesn't make any sense. So, yeah.
That Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi said was going to be raw and unedited. Hello and welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my body language analysis and tips. Let's get down to it. First of all, remember that more than 1 month ago, Dan Bongino had already stated that they were going to release the video after some cleanup.
It was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him.
Yeah, I don't know why it took so long to clean up a video that is going to show nothing, right? And when I say nothing, I will remind you that Kash Patel has said not once but twice that
I love listening to other people. That's such a good catch. Why do you need to clean up a video that says nothing? And all
the
our
same
talking, we
reason-
never caught that.
For the same reason that it took 8 years for the Zapruder film to come out.
Right. just for those of us who are stupid, explain why that would be.
I don't know.
Oh. Well, aren't we stupid?
We are.
No, they obviously... I was under the impression they zoomed in on Kennedy to hide the guy in the front seat shooting him. That's one thing I heard. So... that took a long time.
Yeah, good.
So
8 years.
yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. Wow. Yeah.
Epstein indeed killed himself.
But there is a lot of conspiracy theories out there.
There are.
The Epstein thing, you dealt with Maria, you said, as far as you know, he killed himself.
I'm telling you, he killed himself.
That's a funny shot.
When you slow it down, it's so obvious they're lying. It's disgusting. Oh my
Like
gosh.
literally through their teeth.
He's like, he looks like he's about to get hit by a car. Wow. Huh.
So we're already off to a rough start here. And by the way, didn't they say that the cameras pointed at Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell didn't work? And that is the first question that I will clarify for you right now. To understand the angle of the footage that the Department of Justice and the FBI released.
How the jail cell is set up now.
Okay. Yeah, that
It doesn't
would be
even look
good.
like a jail cell. It looks like
It's
somebody's
the
man
whole
cave.
it's the whole block, like the cell block.
Yeah.
He's gonna explain all that.
Well, it's a weird setup too, because this is actually like a lower story here. Like if you look, you can tell. There
Oh,
are
it is. I
people-
thought it was a desk.
I did too for a long time. It took forever to
Okay.
kind of figure
I
out
see that now.
it's actually a lower story, and this is railing. So
Gotcha.
you've got a trash can here, you've got a prisoner here, and 2 guards here. I believe this is supposed to be Epstein.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
Why
he
was he-
explains it all.
Why was he up walking around outside his jail cell at 11:59 at night?
Because he didn't kill himself. So,
So we need to get our bearings about what is the layout of the special housing unit and Epstein's cell block. So the best way to do this is to look at the map, so to speak, of how it's organized, how the SHU is organized, and it's about 6 cell blocks that are organized in pairs, one on top, one on the bottom, as you can see them. You can see one of the cell blocks here, a second one, and the third one, and the other part of the map. This is, for the staircases, the elevators, the part of the, let's say the reception to that special floor, that particular floor of the SHU. And in this cell block, on the one on top, you got Epstein's cell. You see it here on red. And this space in yellow will be like the mini hallway of that cell block, where you can see the cells themselves. I'm going to show you this picture that will be really illustrative of this. Remember the space, the yellow space in here. If you stand in front of the cell block, this is what you're going to see right in front of you. I'm going to make sure that you look at everything so you understand where are we sitting. First of all, first thing that we were talking about, a broken camera, a camera that didn't work. Well, there's one camera at the end of every cell block. And it turns out that that camera is right here at the end, but that camera didn't work. How convenient, right? But well, that doesn't matter. So we know that the footage released by the DOJ is not the one from that camera, but because that camera did not work. We see a bunch of doors here. It's important to make a distinction between the doors of the jail cells themselves and the utility and crawl space doors. If you see, for example, this door, the 219, you see that there's a window, right, where you can see inside, and the inmate can look outside as well. You got this slot to handcuff people safely, and you also have a slot in case that you have to handcuff them in the feet as well. You also have some of them who only have slots for handcuffing the hands, and you also have these doors which are pretty much nondescript, like they have nothing. They have like this one. Oh, how interesting. These are the utility or crawl space doors. This one, like here, I marked this in white. You see that there are 2 jail cell doors, and there's one utility door in the middle. Why? What are these utility doors for? And this is important. These utility doors are because if you need to fix the plumbing or the electricity, or, this is important, the ventilation of any of the cells, you want to be able to do that without having to open the cell and having to get the inmate out. You can then just go through the utility and crawl space door, and you have access to electricity, plumbing, ventilation system, everything of both of those cells. And you see that there's one utility crawl space door every 2 cells. Very practical. That is part of the design. So now you have a very good idea of what was like Jeffrey Epstein's cell block. One thing is that this is taken straight from the document that the FBI released on the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein killing himself. And by the way, Epstein's cell is a 2020 and it's off screen. It was maybe cropped in purpose, but that's why you see here 219. There would be another utility door and then Epstein's cell block. But this is enough to understand where are we sitting. Now you can see this. This is Epstein's cell, though here's where we were standing. And this is from the floor. This is like the ground floor where, you know, the guards, the officers could see the entrance to every single group or couple of cell blocks. And right from there, you can see that if you are in that ground floor, you are looking at Jeffrey Epstein's cell block, which was on top and was the L tier. Right there, you see that was Jeffrey Epstein's cell block. It's a bit hard to spot, but this is also important. There's a gate here. You see that there's this bars, this gate that is open right now. There's a gate to access the cell block after the staircase. The staircase that goes up and one that goes down. The exact same thing, but Jeffrey.
So, can you guess the camera angle yet?
Nope.
Well, that's the railing that we saw in the previous shot. That right there, those gray bars. Can't really see it on the stream, but yeah, right there. Those stairs go up. That door is there. In other words, and then Jeffrey Epstein's door is in the hall. So when you see cops moving in and out of a particular door, they're not moving into a cell. They're going down the block where Epstein was. So the camera's not even looking at Epstein's door cell at all. And there's 2 utility doors that you could get to from the other side of the hallway. So if somebody were to kill him, somebody would just have to open the utility doors that were right under that broken camera and enter his cell from the other side of the camera we're looking at, and nobody would ever know. Does that make sense?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, let me try. Let me try this again. Okay, you can see my arrow on the screen. All right. So this is the camera, if I'm understanding this correctly. This is L tier. This is S tier. So if I'm understanding this correctly, here's the stairs, right? So, no, wait.
Okay.
Basically, from what I'm understanding, we'll see if he corrects it, but from what I understand, the camera is essentially looking at the railing, like the other side of the stair. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So, here's the railing that we were looking at from the camera. Here's the door. The camera is up in the back corner. Basically, they're showing you the entrance to the hallway, but they're not showing you the entrance to his actual cell.
Okay.
And so, if you let's say that this one right here is Epstein's hallway, right?
Yeah.
His cell is here, but there's like utility. Here's the broken camera, and there's like utility doors back here.
Right.
So if somebody were to kill him, then hypothetically they could just go through the utility doors or hide in the utility doors and go from his cell from the other side, and the camera would never see him because the camera's not recording the hallway. It's just recording the entrance to the hallway. And so the broken camera would just so happen to be the right camera because someone could sneak in through those back doors. Does that make more sense?
Maybe.
Or hide in those utilities. Well, let's keep listening to him because apparently I'm full of crap. So
Epstein was on top. So far, so good, right? We move on, and this is the view from the officer's desk, the officer's station. Here's where they sat down and maybe take it easy. You can rest. There's a mini fan in there and maybe a telephone. All right, and from that, I'm going to go here. This is the officer's desk. You see that, oh, what a coincidence, that they had Epstein's cell right in front of them. I mean, I think there was the only cell that they had right in front of them sitting here. This is the officer's station. You just had to, it's like raise your gaze, and you had right there, jail cell 2020, Jeffrey Epstein's cell. Again, we move on. And this is the other angle. This could be from Jeffrey Epstein's cell looking down into the officer's station. You see, now you can see very clearly the gate that had access, that granted access to the cell block. I really want you to understand where are we sitting here, because when you see this video, when the first moment I saw this video, I had already
Okay, I was
studied
wrong
all
about a certain
this
point, but
many months ago.
okay, I think I realized what I misunderstood. But we'll just keep watching because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth again.
And I began studying the Jeffrey Epstein case. So when I saw the footage released from the DOJ, I was lost. I mean, what is this? This doesn't look like a cell block. This doesn't look like the real thing. Where are we? And what is this 46 in here? I don't get it. So there's one way, very easy way to understand, and I mark it for you. You remember the location of Epstein's cell. You remember the location of the officer's station. Well, the angle of the camera that we're about to analyze comes from the exact opposite corner of the shoe. There's the officer's station. The opposite corner is right here. And here's the camera.
Dude, it was worse than I thought. So it was literally on the other side. The camera was literally on the other side of the building. It wasn't even in the entrance to the hallway. It was on the other side of the building.
Right, because
Yeah.
that it doesn't look right.
Yeah. Okay, well, ignore everything I said. That's worse than what I thought. I thought they were showing us the entrance to the hallway.
No, the camera we're seeing.
Those doors we're seeing are like the doors are at a 45.
It's across the
Wow.
whole cell block,
And there's
and
not
we
even
don't
any windows in 'em.
actually. Yeah, we don't actually get to see his cell at all.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that's the only camera that was working, I guess.
Yep.
Dang
They
those cameras.
really
It's not like
thought-
we're in the age of cameras.
They really thought
it didn't
anybody
work.
would be convinced by that. I'm still giving them too much credit. I thought they would at least give us like an entryway or something. No,
Oh, it
Allegedly,
gets worse.
clear
the
across
guy-
the complex.
The guy in the orange is supposed to be Epstein.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see what direction he's heading.
Holy crap.
Of the video that we're going to analyze. So much, that's how important is to understand where are we standing. That is very important. And that's how you see these tiny things. Maybe you don't know how to read maps, but these tiny things that looks like shark fins are doors that
Shark
open
fin.
and the way that they open. And this one that I'm marking here is going to be easier if you look at this. See this way. Okay, is the door marked 46, and that is the only way of getting in and out the shoe floor. That is going to be really important from now on. So try to remember that. Door 46 is the only way of going in and out. So we are there. There's the camera. So when we take a look at it again, and here, all right, we see the angle. What is the angle? This angle I have marked in yellow. You see that there's like two 45-degree angles or something like that. And door 46 is in the middle. And now you see the footage. Oh, now we understand where are we. There's door 46. There's the angle. And what is right here at the far end? You guess it right. If you guess it, well, congratulations. This is the officer's station. If you can make that out. That is important. Again, I thought that it was really, really critical to understand the angle so we can understand everything that happens from now on. And before we move forward, let me see. All right. It's important to understand. This is critical that, okay, can we actually see Epstein's cell block from here? And if you see the officer station, okay, this looks like a mess of desks and computers. That is the officer station. I think there's a person standing here in this screenshot. You see that there is some kind of teeth